The box office wouldn't be the only place a Hulk Hogan story would bomb. By early 93, he was back in wrestling for a run that people do not care for. On February Raw, that aired the 15th, Beefcake returns and talks about a parasailing accident he had, facial surgery, and how Hulk Hogan helped him through it. This triggers Money Inc. to attack him, $1 Million Man and IRS, if you don't know. That same show, they teased that Hulk Hogan will be back on Raw with Brutus the next week. It's kind of nice. He's coming back to help a friend. This isn't him coming back to get a title. You know, it's about friendship. Aw. On February 22nd, 93, there is a pre-taped interview where Hogan talks about his business mistakes, tabloid terrorism, wanting to be the leader of 90s wrestling. He hops in the ring, introduces Jimmy Hart as his and Beefcake's manager, and coins the team name the Mega Maniacs. And that is basically the build-up to WrestleMania 9. It is going to be Hulk and Brutus taking on Money Inc. for the tag team titles. But before we get there, where has the world title been? Randy Savage beat Flair at Mania 8 before dropping it back to Flair in September, who dropped it to Bret Hart in October at a house show. Despite Bret currently being a living, breathing, grumpy cat meme, at this point, he is kind of the f***ing man. Like, over as hell, one of the goats in the ring, clearly the future of the company, but not on Mr. Nanny's watch.
Well, let me say this. They hadn't figured out how you supply babyface champion Bret Hart with challengers. You know, like they're still kind of in the mindset of like, we create a monster, you know, like the Bam Bam Bigelows and Yokozuna, like, let's manufacture a monster for this guy to be David against these people's Goliath. When in actuality, you really need somebody who can go with Bret Hart. Like, it doesn't need to be a big dude. Bret can work with anybody, but when you put him in the ring with someone like Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, even Kevin Nash on a good night, 1, 2, 3 Kid, you know, your buddy Nick, you know, put him in the ring with someone like that, like even like a Tom Pritchard from the Heavenly Bodies could have a great match with Bret Hart. Like, those are the people that he should be having matches with. So it's in that clunky era where they haven't figured that out yet. They know that he's a star. They know he can deliver, but they don't know who needs to be on the other side of the ring for him. They haven't gotten to that because they haven't got out of the formula. They haven't got over Hulk. And here's Hulk so dialing up Vince McMahon in the middle of the night, like, hey, you up? You know, like, that's basically what he's doing. And also, too, keep in mind while we're discussing this, Hulk is doing a pre-tape, and they're at the Manhattan Center. And anybody that's ever been a performer at the Manhattan Center, the backstage area is shit. It's fucking tiny. Back in the day, Hulk was at large arenas where you kind of just spread out, and the Manhattan Center locker room is not that. You're just on top of each other. And Hulk's just probably saying, well, the reason why this sucks is because Bret Hart's the champion.
So at Mania 9, Hulk and Brutus Beefcake lose to Money Inc. by DQ in the tag team title match, but that is not why we're here. Later that night, Yokozuna beat Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. Hogan comes out to check on Bret. Mr. Fuji challenges Hogan on the spot. Why? Hogan accepts. Fuji misses with the salt, hits Yoko. Hogan hits the leg drop and pins Yokozuna in just over 20 seconds to win the WWF Championship.
And Bret Hart has never been more pissed off in his entire life.
You sure about that? You sure?
I say, yeah, right. You know what? I'm not. That was hyperbole. Of all the things I've said on here, that is the largest reach I've made. Is that was the most pissed off Bret Hart has ever been. I stand corrected.
Goldberg wasn't even there, dude.
So this is another example that comes out later of just intense backstage politicking from Hulk Hogan. Once again, taking a title away from a young star instead of, you know, making someone for the future, you know, building the business. And WrestleMania 9 is just a pile of to begin with. Literally the only good part is Bobby Heenan riding a camel.
And here's the thing, like my job is always to be as fair as possible. I will be as fair as possible. And let's say Hulk didn't politic for this. Let's also look into the fact that Vince wanted to put the belt on Hulk because they had international days coming up and they felt like a Hulk champion would do better internationally. But I feel like that falls apart because Bret Hart has always been huge internationally. They appreciated longer matches. They appreciated better matches. They weren't just there for the music and the noise because obviously at that time they weren't filming TV there. They were just doing house show stuff, and you don't want somebody to come out and do the same old shit they've done. And it also goes back to them not understanding what they had with Bret Hart. You know, we could say that Hulk politic, but the company may have made a pivot like, well, we have Hulk now. It seems like he's really getting over because that Money Inc. like angle that I'm here to stick up my friend, like that's a good fucking angle. And to be honest, at the time, as you saw WrestleMania 9, they didn't have a whole lot fucking better stories being told at that time. So Hulk sticking up for his friend Brutus, who just got his face put together with Ted DiBiase and IRS, like that's, I don't know, it's pretty believable that you're like, okay, well, Hulk's back. Seems like he's engaged. Let's put the belt on him. Let's pop some houses. Let's see if we can kind of go someplace with Hulk in, the 90s here. And because, we're running the Manhattan Center. So like, we're not doing well. We can't get much lower. Let's see if we can breathe new life and get a second wind out of Hulk. It might not have been all Hulk, and Hulk isn't going to be like, well, Bret's the guy right now. Are you sure you want to do that? Hulk's like, oh no, I want all that. I want that smoke. I want all that. Please give it to me. So we can blame Hulk all we want, and don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times to blame Hulk. This might not be one of them, in fairness, but it most certainly could be as well too.